Welcome back to the farm. I'm down here in the pepper high tunnel. I'm gonna kind of go over the three biggest mistakes I think people have made growing peppers, and actually mistakes I've made. So I've kind of learned from my mistakes. This is November the 3rd, that's 2025, and I'm still getting peppers. I'm in southeast Tennessee. This is a bell pepper. I'll stop and I'll show you some jalapenos. I got some banana peppers still going, some Fresnos, cayenne still going. This place is kind of a wreck. I've kind of let it go last month, and I'm getting a little bit of cold damage in here, or frost damage. So, not frost, but freeze damage. And so it's coming to the end. But the main thing is, kind of want to talk about mistakes that for next year, keep you from making mistakes from next year. So number one is planting too early. Even though I've got this going, it's November the 3rd, and I've got a light wind breaker on. Peppers like warm weather, so I've made this mistake. I don't know how many times I start my seeds, get a little plant going, and thinking, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and put it down there and get a real cold nights, and it stunts it. I actually did that this year. I was probably about a good 6 weeks behind on my peppers because of that. And so you kind of need some warm nights, at least in the 60s at night. I think the nighttime is really what gets, especially in a high tunnel like this. And, if you're growing in a raised bed, you can put cover over that at night. And the raised beds, to me, seem a little warmer, the soil does, than natural ground. So you might get away a little bit colder in a raised bed, but just watch your temperatures. You want at least 60, maybe 65 at night. Maybe 55, or between 55 and 60, you might be able to get away with it. But if it gets really cold, below that, I wouldn't wait to plant my peppers. Second thing that I see a lot of people make a mistake on, and I made this mistake too when I first started, was overwatering. You don't want to overwater your pepper plants. Now, I'm not talking about when you first transplant, because you kind of got to watch them really well there for at least the first 7 to 10 days so they get that root going. And, you might need to water them a little bit every day then, or every other day, or depending on your weather, every three days. But once they get good and going, don't overwater. You want that soil to dry out in between. It causes your roots to rot. And I've not watered in here in 3 weeks, and I've got blooms going. Now these plants have been really established, so and I'll probably water them. I'll check the temperature, and I might water them this week a little bit. Keep it going. I'm gonna let my sides down, and we'll see if we can keep them going for a little while. But once you get a hard freeze, it's over with here. But don't overwater. Once you get them established, once you transplant for 7, a week and a half, then you want to kind of watch it and check your soil. You want it to kind of dry out between waterings. Don't keep it a constant moisture, or they just don't like the dampness of it for some reason. And I'm sure there's a lot of scientific stuff, and I'm not really a botanist. I'm just a country farmer, so I just stuff that I've noticed. So number 2, don't overwater. And the third thing I want to say that people make mistakes in is fertilizing. You want a good balanced fertilizer. I recommend, if you're just starting out, using organic, like a 566, 564, something like that. Organic's going to be hard to burn that plant or hurt that plant with organic fertilizer. As a matter of fact, except for this year, because I got so far behind, I used a chemical fertilizer, but I'll talk about that in just a second. But I mainly use in my high tunnels organic fertilizer just for soil health. And if I was doing raised beds, that's what I would use. If you're not in a big time production, you do fine. You do fine in that. So don't over fertilize. You don't want a high nitrogen. You want something balanced. Like I said, I use chemical in here. I use a 20-20-20, And I didn't just use anything off the shelf. Now I've got a high quality fertilizer with micronutrients in it, and that makes all the difference in the world to me. And plus it's got three different kinds of nitrogen in it. You know, it's not just that old urea, and that's what a lot of stuff is. Like stuff you buy at Walmart or whatever, the green stuff is like 48, 12 something. And you know, you have big beautiful plants, but we want to set fruit. We want to encourage fruit growth, so that's why I say you need either a balanced or a low nitrogen. Sometimes I use like a 5, 12, 12 in here, organic, on my everything really. Especially if they set them first flowers. And I think this year I went to another chemical or synthetic fertilizer, and it was like a 8, 40, 30 something. I can't remember exact numbers, but I still got it in there. I don't use it a whole lot, but when it starts to set the fruit, I'll give them that, and that gives it a little better fruit set. So it's a little bloom buster kind of, bloom booster, I guess you could say. It encourages blooms, and that's what we want. We want fruit. We don't necessarily want big plants, and that's why I say stay away from high nitrogen things, especially on peppers. Some need that, like sweet corn. You need a high nitrogen. I give a high nitrogen sometimes to cucumbers, but most of the time, everything I do is pretty much like 20-20-20 balanced out in the field. Occasionally I'll go to a high nitrogen. Sweet corn I use a high nitrogen. Pumpkins I use a high nitrogen. Watermelons I use 20-20-20. Cantaloupe I use 20-20-20. So, it just depends on the crop. But as far as we're talking about peppers, balanced. Even tomatoes, I can talk about tomatoes too, but peppers, we want to use a balanced fertilizer. So that's my 3 things. Don't plant too early, watch your watering, and fertilizing. You got to fertilize. Now, I haven't fertilized in here in months. Probably 2 months I haven't gave any kind of fertilizer. So once you get them going, you can kind of let them go. And I got blooms in here today. I got some beautiful jalapenos over here. I always grow good jalapenos. My bell peppers, they did marginally good. It's not my best year. Usually I get some that's a lot bigger than this, and I've had a few that's pretty good size. But this is just an average size pepper. I like them really bigger than this, and I couldn't really find any today because I picked Saturday for our farm stand, so they has to recover. And I'll probably have some. If I film this later in the week, I'll probably have some big ones. So I'm gonna close these sides up, and I need to come here and weed. It's about the end of the season. I've been cleaning out, a little bit. If you want to watch the channel, I'm cleaning out over here a little bit at a time, especially in the rain. And it's kind of rainy today, but I got a project I got to do outside. So anyway, that's my 3 things. I can't remember if I went over it. Watch your water. Don't overwater. Don't plant too early. Watch your fertilizer. Balance nitrogen. Watch your nitrogen is what I'm trying to say. All right, hope you enjoyed this. Give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Next week, we'll start our regular Monday night lives. We'll be live every Monday night for a while, at least till probably March or so. And we'll probably take a week off there at Thanksgiving, maybe. I don't know about Thanksgiving, but maybe at Christmas and New Year's. We'll see how it all falls in. But anyway, we'll play that out back here. All right, give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. See you next Monday night live. Poach Your Local Farmer. We'll see you down here at the farm next video.